Folks, welcome back. I'm at the Traders Expo in New York at the Hilton with Tom Lee, co-founder of Fundstrat. And by the way, one of the many reasons you should pay attention to Tom isn't just that he's the co-founder of Fundstrat, it's that Institutional Magazine has rated him one of the top analysts on Wall Street since 1998. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's a pretty big honor. Tom, I know we don't often talk about digital assets, whether they're security token offerings or whether they're Bitcoin, not on CNBC, but here we have a little more leeway, and we can talk about that a little. Tell me what your impression is first of, the granddaddy of the cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin. Had that very rough year in 2018. It had a great beginning and then, just the steady bleed off. And now that we're 3,900 again, after bouncing at 33 or so, what do you think of Bitcoin here?
I think Bitcoin definitely had a rough 2018, probably the opposite of how good it was in 2017.
Sure.
I think 2019 is a year where we're starting to really break out again. Mm-hmm. And I think 2020 will be very strong. But the reason Bitcoin, I think, is surviving this is, one, its usefulness has really grown this year. Mm-hmm. I think developments like JP Morgan coin backed. We've seen some pensions and endowments invest in crypto. It shows that it's emerging as an asset class. And then I think regions like Venezuela, where Bitcoin 30% of all Bitcoin transactions might be coming out of Venezuela right now. So it's proving to be quite useful in countries that are unstable, and even in places like Turkey, where 18% of people own some Bitcoin. It's because, whether it's currency instability or less trust in the banking are driving adoption.
Gotcha. And you mentioned backed, which is the ICE, the New York Stock Exchange, and the Intercontinental Exchange. That's their crypto exchange. It's been put on hold. Well, it's been moved out into the future twice now, as far as the launch of that exchange. But that's going to be big for crypto, I think, and you just said it was too. eRisk in Chicago, I think that's Virtu, and DRW, which is Cumberland, on the digital side. There are a lot of folks that, rather than throwing in the towel, are still saying digital assets are going to have a future.
That's right. I think this year we're seeing a lot more movement forward to the infrastructure. I think adoption's growing. Macro headwinds are now becoming tailwinds. The strong dollar last year was a problem for Bitcoin. EM was down 27%. That's headwind for Bitcoin. Now that's all reversing. I think I might even say the fundamental progress this year is quite good, and eventually the price of Bitcoin will reflect that.
Now let me ask you one that just came out last week. You mentioned JP Morgan, which was a couple weeks ago, and that's huge. But what about Zuckerberg? What about Facebook coming out with its own digital currency, perhaps even a currency that you could use that if you want to get paid for providing certain data or even your stream, your feed, that other users might pay you in these Facebook bucks or whatever they are. What do you think of that? Because given the billions of users there are there, that seems like one of the biggest endorsements of a digital asset.
Yeah, I mean, on so many levels, what you've described might be even more important than a bank offering a digital currency. Social media companies are native digital already. They have a lot of trust, believe it or not, with their users. Mm-hmm. And they're in the future going to be engaging with their customers in other ways, and I think digital currencies allows them to really engage in a more commercial relationship. So I think it's absolutely a big deal. Facebook, in terms of just revenue per user, is about $7 of ARPU annually. Banks generally earn almost $1,000 per bank customer. So you can see the upside for Facebook as they start to rethink their platform as something offering digital asset services and capturing some of that banking.
Now, as a guy that made his bones talking about stocks, and now obviously Fundstrat also offers its insights on digital assets. How much of your institutional clients are really pushing you guys on digital assets? They want at least a baseline or an understanding of what's going on in the space.
I would say we have mixed views among our institutional clients. I'd say most are open to the idea of some education. They're very curious now, and I think especially as JP Morgan and Fact gets launched, it's sort of creating the backdrop as an asset class. But there are a lot of traditional investors who think crypto just sounds like a bad idea. And I think that it's really those folks that are going to be really important to watch, because their views can evolve. That they can start to realize how useful crypto will be. And I think those are the clients we're trying to make sure we sort of balance that. Hey, this is what we see as the future, but it doesn't mean that we think equity markets are unattractive. We still think equities are the way to create wealth for the vast majority of people.
And one of the biggest folks in the industry did just that, pulled that 180, and that was Jamie Dimon over at JP Morgan when he said that they were vapor or whatever he said, and now all of a sudden they've endorsed not only blockchain, which makes a lot of sense for brokerages, but they've endorsed cryptocurrency.
Yeah, and JP Morgan, I think, has a big blockchain team. They've done a lot of great things, and they've been very involved with the Ethereum Quorum. So I think they really get it as a firm, and I think on balance, JP Morgan Digital Coin should be seen as a positive, even though it's essentially a permissioned blockchain, but it's a step in the right direction.
Folks, we've been talking with Tom Lee, co-founder of Fundstrat. We're at the Traders Expo in New York City.